Hello, everybody. Here we are again, live on Broadcast Team Alpha on YouTube, Facebook, and our website, 3 TV stations, and 17 other platforms. So you can find us anywhere. And we are here for some cutting-edge conversations and quantum possibilities. My name is Augie, and my co-host Nori is not here tonight. She is, from what I hear, at the hospital, not for herself, but for someone that she is caring for. So we'll forgive her. Anyway, we have a phenomenal guest with us tonight, and I'd like to tell you about that in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you how you can connect with us. We can find us through broadcastteamalpha.com. We are on YouTube with the same name, and you can check for other shows on YouTube also, because we have a lot of stuff there, and on broadcastteamalpha.com. If you look at the shows, that is good, but also look in the picture gallery. We have 5,000 pictures, unbelievable pictures that should not exist, but it does. So have a look at that. And we have also a membership group on YouTube you can check out also. And I would also invite you to just contact us, because the guests we are on, we're having on, they're cutting edge of what you find out there. So let me tell you a little bit about the guests we have tonight. We have John DeSouza returning to Broadcast Team Alpha. And this could be the shortest introduction that I've ever done, because everybody knows him. But for the three guys out there that just don't yet, I'll say a few things. But first, for those of you out there that like to surf the guest's website while you are listening, here is John's website, where he has his books and a lot of, some information on there. JohnTamabooks.com. JohnTamabooks.com. And John, he was a FBI special agent for 25 years. And he had a top secret clearance, and he worked in the Global War on Terror and the Violent Crime Units. Also during that time, he worked on what the FBI called the Real X-Files. And he shares a lot of this about this in his books. And yes, John is an author of several books. And I have 3 of them sitting right here in the house on the bookshelf. And the titles are Extradimensionals, Clear Hearers, Investigators, and he also's got a movie out about missing people, 411 missing people. And that is really something that you got to see, because this is something that no media talks about it, but it's real. People are just disappearing sometimes almost right off the street, but especially in the wilderness where they should not have disappeared. And he also holds some monthly meetings here in Tucson, and I'm going to those meetings. And I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but sometimes on this meeting, John talks about things that he does not talk about on his interviews. And I don't know, maybe John, I can see him smiling, so it's probably things that he's holding back. I tell you, folks, I don't care if you live in Moscow, Idaho, get to these meetings at the last Sunday in Tucson, last Sunday of the month, because there is pearls coming at those meetings, and we have lively discussions usually for the last hour or so. And there's a few issues that I want to absolutely have him talk about on this interview. And That is, one of them is this Mothership, Mother spaceship that NASA and the Air Force is saying coming our way. So I want to hear more about that, because he may not be working for the FBI anymore, but he does have contacts, and that's as far as I'm going to say. But he also, there's some things I want to talk about his books, and I got to show you this, because this is good. Here, John, I got them all.
Nice hand. Nice hand you got there.
Yeah, that's a nice trial. So welcome to the show, John. And gosh, let's go to work here.
Thank you, Augie. It's great being on here. That's really good stuff. It's good being here with you and broadcast team Alpha and your great audience. It's really good stuff, important stuff. And for those who may not know, I'm John DeSouza. I was an FBI special agent for over 25 years. And I try to talk to people about these topics as much as possible now. And those books that Augie held up, all of this is really, it's just about self-defense for people. My books are trying to relay to people ways in which they can defend themselves mentally, spiritually, and in terms of data information as well. Because we are in a global war. Augie, as you very well know, and as most of your audience knows, we are in a global war. We, for the first time in human history, the elites of the earth have declared war, depopulation on the rest of us, on the 99% of us that live in this world. And they have decided to take direct action through their institutions that they own to basically depopulate us. And and they have many vassals. They have very many subsidiaries that are working towards the same goal, to basically wage this war against us, to try to depopulate us. And a small part of this global war, because there's many parts, there's many moving parts, as I can review for your audience today. But one of the main parts is this tremendous fake alien invasion that they are working towards right now, that the Dark Pentagon is working on, NASA is working on, the United States Navy is also working on this, and many other institutions are working to put together this what they now call the UAP, the UAP invasion. They basically use this PSYOP to take over ufology from the idea of UFOs, because UFOs tended to be very benevolent towards humanity. They tended to come here and shut down a lot of our nuclear weapons that were being used for nefarious purposes. And they did other things too to help us out. So this PSYOP wanted to take over this idea of UFOs and change it into UAPs. And then they got it involved into the market, what's it called, the Defense Weapons Industrial Complex, which is huge, and it wants to empower itself over the world again. And so they're trying to pump up fear with these UAPs and with the UAP program, and trying to get this going in a very big way. And that's what this story the other day was about. Where the government actually announced that they did something impossible a while back. They're saying that they shot down some UFOs. They're not going to show you, Augie, what it looks like. They're not going to show you the remains. They're not going to show you the evidence that they actually did this. But they're just like, trust me, bro. They're just like, hey, just believe what I said. And also, coincidentally, several other countries have done the same. Russia also claimed that it shot down one of these UFOs, and other countries have done the same. It's been really crazy. So now, what would be more appropriate than for the people who are running this psyop, than for them to say, hey, you know what? Well, there's a mothership coming right now to get revenge on us for the fact that we've been shooting down all these UFOs. And they're coming, and they're going to bring these probes with them that are going to come and invade the Earth and possibly, destroy our facilities as well. And, we'll be deserving it because we shot down some of their UFOs. So let's see what happens. So basically, around March 15th, as we all know, New York Post and all the media, mainstream media all over the world, reported that Pentagon officials and some scientists from Harvard and NASA as well just announced that this giant object in outer space is coming again. It's called, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's got a Hawaiian name. It's a giant cigar-shaped object in space. It's called Oumuamua. Scientists from Harvard and NASA. Hawaiian. It's Scout in Hawaiian. It's an unusual interstellar object that was spotted way back in 2017. Well, now it's coming here, okay? And now they have decided that it is a mothership of some kind. And they're reporting this all over the media worldwide. Mainstream news is reporting this. And they're saying it's very possible, according to NASA scientists, that this thing could release probes. And what do you think the probes are going to look like? I can tell you what they're going to look like. The probes are going to look exactly like the Tic Tacs, those silver oval-shaped objects that we have still not seen the destructive capacity of those things. We actually have seen their mobile, capacities and different things that they can do, but we still haven't seen them destroy anything. And my main prediction today is that very, very soon we are going to see the destructive capabilities of those Tic Tacs, and these objects, these UAPs, differ in size. Sometimes they are cigar-shaped. Sometimes they are larger, smaller. The only signature I see in common is that they tend to have that silver sort of skin, metallic silver skin that have been built into these, what they are is they're really top secret anti-gravity drones that are man-made, okay? They're man-made, but they are not under the control of any particular nation. They are actually under the control of those that sit above the nations. That's where they are, for real. And that's what's coming
government.
Up. Say again?
Yeah. The secret government.
Yes. That's who really owns these UAPs. And that's the reason that they have all of their little drones in the public repeating how frightening these things are, how we should be scared of them because they're coming soon, and it's going to be crazy when they do. That's what we're looking at right now, Augie, with these motherships.
Isn't it amazing, though, that now they are announcing this, but we have seen videos and pictures of huge objects in space. What about that planet-sized circular ball that was sitting next to the sun and sucking up energy from the sun? NASA took the picture, and it was a huge ship, but they didn't want to talk about that, but now they're ready.
Right. And why is it that now they're ready? And I wanted to go over some terms with your audience real quick. The reason why, as you said, Augie, now they're ready to tell us that Oumuamua, the Scout mothership, even the word Scout, I mean, it all just fits so perfectly. The ship is called Scout in Hawaiian, the Aumuamua, and it's so funny that now it's going to be, now they decided that it's the first mothership to come to Earth after all this time. But yeah, why now, Augie? The reason is because of another word that I've been trying to teach people to use everywhere I go, polycrisis. Polycrisis. It's because now they're ready to add this crisis to all the other crises that we have going on at this time. It's part of the policy of polycrisis. What does that mean? It means several attacks against the United States going on at the same time. In the areas, things like cyber attack, climate crisis, weather patterns, artificial weather patterns. That's now what they call climate crisis. Pandemics, economic collapse, all happening at the same time. And now we're going to add one more, and then one more, and then one more. And the one more we're adding right now is fake alien invasion, with the mothership all set up and the probes all set up to come, and it's gonna be destruction, Augie. It's gonna be destruction.
Yeah,
it's gonna be horrible. And the main thing I'm trying to teach people through my books like the Extradimensionals is how to distinguish, how to defend themselves from these false concepts, to know that whenever the government says to you, hey, we just shot down a UFO, we just shot down a UAP, you know that they're lying, because real UFOs cannot be shot down. That has been demonstrated over and over again. Roswell was not real. It was not the actual shooting down or bringing down of an alien craft. It was bringing down of something, but it was not an alien craft. And neither are these UAPs. These UAPs are they're man-made, and but they do have technology that we have not seen before, and that's why I believe these things are top secret. They were being tested as top secret experimentation by the United States Navy back in 2004. That's what they were doing with the carrier group Nimitz, when they were all out there off the California coast, and these things were all doing their final experiments, buzzing around and going all over the place at these incredible speeds. And that's why it was the way it was. It's crazy stuff.
This has been an old plan, because Operation Bluebeam has been on the books for decades. And in fact, Werner von Braun in the late 19th or maybe early 1980s, he talked about the fact that there is an alien invasion planned. So it's been around a long time.
Absolutely. And I believe Werner von Braun had something put on his tombstone when he died that indicated readiness for the fake alien invasion when it comes. So these ideas are not something I came up with on my own. These things have been going around since Werner von Braun first introduced us to that idea that the fake alien invasion would end up being the final great conflict that the cabal would use to unify the world under them, under their leadership. Because of course, when the fake alien invasion comes, who's going to step forward? It's not going to be the governments. It's going to be the cabal leaders who are going to step forward and say, oh, we'll save you guys. We're in contact with these aliens, and we are going to let you know what they say, so that we can all cooperate and be better in a one world situation here. That's what's going to happen, and that's who we're going to have stepping forward for us.
And the biggest part of those ships in the sky probably will be holograms, and then in between there may be some real ships that is actually shooting at stuff on the ground. Do you think?
Exactly. It's in Hollywood they call that sweetening. They call that sweetening the situation. So what they'll do is they'll have many concrete, real ships that are these UAPs that we all have seen, and they will have tremendous destructive capability. But they're also going to use Project Bluebeam to sweeten the situation so that when you see, maybe dozens of these ships somewhere, there's gonna actually appear to be thousands. They do this in Hollywood as a regular thing, and it's going to be done in our skies as well. But it doesn't matter that there are holograms. The holograms are going to be there just to frighten people at a higher level. That's it. Because the basic core of these things is going to be real, as we have seen with the UAPs. They're going to be real, and they're going to be very dangerous and destructive. That's why I believe that in the very near term, we're going to start, because people are losing interest in these UAPs. They're just not getting scared the way that the politicians want them to. So what's good, especially because of all these other crises that are going on too. People are just, looking at it and like, okay, whatever. So what's going to happen now is that several of these UAPs are going to have to take direct action and destroy maybe some of our airliners, military jets, maybe some buildings on the ground as well. We don't know, but what I do know is that they're going to bring to bear their destructive capability very, very soon. Because if they don't, that's the next logical step in this. And that might be why the mothership was planted into our consciousness. The mothership and the what they say, probes. They said it like it's going to be giving off probes to the Earth, possibly.
Yeah. How did they know that?
Exactly. Well, in the stories, what they're saying is that this Harvard scientist. I mean, as soon as you hear Harvard, you know it's bad. This Harvard scientist wrote a paper where he did an examination of a previous meteorite that came to Earth, and that he believes very likely that it would give off probes that would come to Earth to examine. And so now they're conflating that with the Oumuamua meteor device thing, whatever that mothership is, and they're saying that it's very likely because of that paper that was written by that Harvard scientist. Therefore, the Oumuamua is going to come here and release probes, likely, to the Earth so that they can examine the Earth. But the probes are just going to be the same Tic Tacs that we've been seeing up to now. That's what it's going to be. It's crazy.
And if it comes from Harvard, we know Harvard is the mouthpiece of the cabal.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, like so many other institutions too. And so is NASA, by the way. And so is the Dark Pentagon, the part of the Pentagon that is working directly with the cabal. And they have no compunction to help America whatsoever. So that's what we're facing here. It's a lot.
There's something else that one of the cabal had been caught talking about in a conversation that was recorded, and that is that the holograms are being expressed with some real ships in between, but also they know how they can corral and bring the Christians and the Muslims and the religious community under their umbrella, because, hey, Christians, you're going to see Jesus coming back.
Yes.
You're going to see him in the sky, and you hear his voice.
Yes,
because
that's great, Augie. You probably did what I did. I just read Project Bluebeam for the first time just a few weeks ago, and it's over 100 pages long. I mean, it's got so much material in there, and you're right. The original purpose of Project Bluebeam was not to help a fake alien invasion. It was to attack the population with their religious figures in the sky, and the religious figures talking to them, voice to skull technology, and telling them what they should do, which of course will be obey the government, obey the cabal, do whatever they say. This leader, Klaus Schwab, is my number one emissary on the earth. Do whatever he says. He's the greatest. And of course, that's the sort of thing that Project Bluebeam was actually first done for, first created for that purpose. So we're going to see that sort of thing most likely happening as an additional crisis to all the other crises that are going on. And then when that happens, I mean, people's religion has a very strong effect on them. And it's really funny that in the Bible, there's actually a part where Jesus, for some reason, Jesus says that I am the shepherd of my sheep. And he wanted us to know that his sheep will always recognize his voice. And I thought about that. I thought about that when I was reading Project Bluebeam, how many pages of Project Bluebeam there is, because it almost sounds like Jesus knew this was going to go forward someday. And he actually just reassuring those of us who are Christ followers, he's reassuring us that don't worry about it. When I appear in the sky for real, you're going to know it because you're going to feel it in your spirit. And I would hope that people who believe in whatever they believe in will also have that response, that familiarity, that they will know in their spirit if something is genuine or not. Most likely they won't. So that's actually why I wrote my book, The Clear Hearers, which you see right here behind me. It's because this Project Bluebeam and Voice to Skull technology is going to be used against us. It will. I mean, the CIA has actually said so. They've actually said so in Project Bluebeam. So we need to learn to distinguish when it's the real voice that's from God, from our higher self, from wherever it comes from to help us. That's the distinguishing factor of the great voice when it comes to help you. And we have to be able to know by listening for it, and because it comes to us all the time. That's why I wrote The Clear Hearers, to try to help people self-defense, to know when it's the real voice that they need to help them sometimes even by saving their lives. And so they will know right away when they hear something that's coming that is foreign, it's alien, it's wrong, and it's not for your good. And that's we got to learn to distinguish that. And we got to learn fast, because if we don't, we're going to be able to fall for these deceptions, these great deceptions that are coming at a breakneck speed.
Yeah, and another thing I want to mention, first of all, speaking of Jesus, it does also say his voice was soft. When they're using this voice-to-skull microwave technology and make you believe that he's talking to you, if the voice is louder or however it is, shouldn't that give you a clue? Another thing is that the cabal does not discriminate against religions. If you are a Muslim and living in Saudi Arabia, you're going to see Muhammad in the sky. So don't worry, they won't leave you out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But here's another sort of like a twist in this story, is that people have to understand that the cabal knows the power and the passion of religion. And the main reason is because they are a religious group. They are a death cult, a Babylonian death cult. They worship the old dark gods at the highest levels I'm talking about, of course. I'm talking about the highest levels. So they are actually a small group of people, bloodlines, with a tremendous religious faith in their dark lords. They're the old dark gods from Babylon, from ancient times, and they worship them very seriously, and they do sacrifice for them too. So for that reason, the cabal always wants to work they always recognize the importance of religious faith and being able to exploit that as well. And that's why that stuff is all over Project Bluebeam, which I suggest people familiarize themselves with. And that's the reason why people need to learn about what genuine clear hearing is, so that they can use it to their benefit and be defended and defend themselves against voice-to-skull technology when it comes around to them eventually. As you probably know, Augie, no less figures than Cliff High and also David Icke have been saying that this voice-to-skull technology is being used against people now on a regular basis. And it was especially during the execution events that have been going on, where people have been killed by these medical procedures that have been going on, and these two men have been saying that people have been receiving this short message that just says take the vax, it'll be fine. That's it. That's the whole message, and it changed them. It changed them from being, I'm never taking that, to, yeah, I'm going to take it. I feel good about it. I feel okay about it. Because whenever those words were said, it was accompanied by good feelings of comfort and goodness and happiness, just like real clear hearing is as well. It's crazy what's been going on, Augie, but it's going to be used more and more. Even when fake alien invasion comes, even when other things come, it's going to be used more and more. So we have to learn to discern. That's it. That's the word.
Let me say something about this book. When I went through it, I noticed something in there. You explain how it works, but also there is things in that show people how to develop their own clear hearing. You can seeing what is going on is explained in the book, and then you can develop your own sharpen, I guess is sharpen is a better word, of your own clear hearing, so that you can actually have these messages more so. Could you speak on that a little bit? Because this is really important for people when the chocolate hit the fan.
The Great Voice has several rules that it abides by, that it goes by, and why it exists, I'm not sure. But the Great Voice is connected to your higher self. There's the version of you that stands in the breath of God, that stands in eternity. And why this works this way, I don't know, but I just know that it does, and that it is. I have learned this. This book is a lifelong investigation that I have done into this, and that I know is real. I know it exists. And one of the rules of the Great Voice is that it must always be short. Messages must be short, clear, and must always help you in some enormous way. It must always help you. I mean, I've had incidents, I've had people, I've given classes on learning how to learn this stuff, how to do this stuff, and one of the things that people do on a regular basis is that they'll do the meditations that I show, and in the book even I show those, and they'll ask for money from their higher self. They'll say, I just need money, and blah blah, and so forth. And they'll do the meditations in the book, and within 7 days they'll have an interesting amount of money that just comes out of nowhere. But one of the things I've seen from these various incidents is that the Great Voice doesn't really, the source, your higher self no longer understands what means a lot of money. So they'll give the person whatever, $5,000 or $10,000 when they were asking for much more. But one of the things it seems like is that this source of the Great Voice that you can cultivate. you can cultivate, and you can actually get better and better at communicating with it. It doesn't, but there's certain things it doesn't understand. It doesn't understand or remember what it was like to be a human being, even though it was you at one time. But it doesn't quite understand the concept of money. It doesn't quite remember the concept of a lot of money. So it just gives the person some money. It's a very strange dynamic, but it's because the source of the great voice is so removed from human concerns that we see every day, and that sometimes it's difficult to translate certain concepts to the being that is actually the great voice. But it will always do everything to help you, to make you better. And sometimes it does things in times of crisis to save your life. That's what really matters. That's the reason we need to cultivate these things to become better.
Well, do you have a story on that?
Yeah, I tell several stories in the book of the time, one time when I was set up for an assassination. Basically, I was set up for an assassination, and at the last second that I went into a situation where I was going to be assassinated, the great voice came to me. Well, my great voice came to me and just gave me a warning not to go into a certain building. Don't go in there. Don't go in there at all. And I wasn't listening. I was going to ignore it because it was my job. It was my job, and I had to go into that building. So I kind of was ignoring it, and then I found that my legs froze up. I mean, it just froze up completely because the source of the great voice does have the ability to affect physical matter outside of it. It has that ability. So I froze up my legs. I could not move forward. And then I just had to say, I'm out of here. I can't do this. I didn't say the reason, but I just said I can't do this. And then I pushed myself back from the double doors at the front, and then my legs were released. They were released, and I could walk fine. I was like, okay, I gotta listen to this when it happens, and I just got out of there. And I later found out the circumstances behind the assassination that had been set up, and I found out that it was true. It really was going to happen. Crazy stuff, Augie. Crazy stuff. Yeah. And that's in clear ears, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... And I know also that Investigator was another interesting one that I really got into, because there you're showing people how they can do their own investigation. When you find something and you wonder, is this really real? Well, with the book,
in Para Investigators, I give people the true history of these investigators that had special abilities, supernatural abilities, that they used to save people's lives. And they did it over and over again. And, and almost each time they were excoriated by police authorities, by regular people, because, just because people are supernaturally, they're scared. They're scared of supernatural things, even if it's helping them. And they want to know, how did you do that? How did you do that? And you better explain it in a way that my mind can wrap around it. Otherwise, we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you badly. And that's what the stories are in Para Investigators. It's just to let people know that all these investigators sacrificed so much of themselves to help people, often to save people's lives. And we need to support them rather than punishing them because they used extraordinary means to help save people. That's what that's about.
And one more comment also on this, very appropriate right now, extradimensionals. That is, in fact, about 2 weeks ago, I found a CIA document that they had to release because of the 20-year rule. And in there, it says that we have found that most extraterrestrial beings are interdimensionals. They're not from other worlds. And you talk about that.
Yeah, I believe I actually have that document in the Extradimensionals because in the 1950s, I believe, we had an FBI agent who was also a PhD. He was also a scientist, and he put out the document that said that it's available at vault.gov.fbi even today.
Yeah.
And it's under UFO group number 1 of documents, UFO group number 1, and then you just go to page 22 of group 1 under UFOs, and you'll find it. It's called the smoking gun document, and it is also numbered 6751, and it basically says this FBI agent had an informant that he calls supernormal. And I believe that's a code word that his informant was an alien visitor, because the informant gave him 8 conclusions that were incredible. And they basically said that UFOs and alien visitors were not physical. They're not physical. They are able to come here and appear to be physical for short periods of time, but that UFOs, for instance, are not made of metal. They are made of a plasma-like shifting state of matter. That has been borne out ever since then. When we see genuine UFOs, they are filled with light, or they appear to be filled with plasma, or many of them are shape-shifting, and they have the hallmark ability of a genuine extra-dimensional UFO, which is the ability to dematerialize or become intangible, where things pass right through them. That is a genuine UFO. That is not a UAP. That is a UFO. That is genuine, as we have seen throughout history. Those are the types of things that we need to learn, so that we can distinguish when we are being lied to by people who just, hey, yeah, we just shot down a UAP, which is from outer space, and it's an alien visitor ship, and, or they use their code words. This proves that and then they look up at the sky and they go, we are definitely not alone in the universe. And it's very sickening when they start all that stuff. But they're out there, and they're going to keep working on this project, because this project is going to mean a lot of money for them, from money and resources from the military-industrial complex that loves working with UAPs. They love it. That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder sometimes what they really are developing at the skunk works in California. They've been working out these things for decades now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, when these things start happening, when you wake up one morning, go outside, and you see the sky is full of ships, what are you going to do that day, John? Are you going to go get in the basement, or are you going to say, well, I'm just going to live my life?
I'm pretty sure I'll be very occupied with some top secret activities that will be associated with the people who are trying to fight against this psyop. So I'll be fully occupied. Let's put it that way. Very fully occupied.
I got another question, and that is that now you live quite far from the airport down here where they make those. There's a company down there. I'm trying to be diplomatic because of YouTube, but they make. Okay, screw it. Bombs and rockets, that's what they make. And I'm a lot closer to that place than you are. If you had your choice, John, anywhere in the world or the United States, where would you live to be the safest?
I would live in the palm of my God's hand, in the palm of his hand. And that's where I am, and that's where I'll be then also. And that's what protects me, because nothing else can. Nothing else can, really, Augie. It's the truth. That's where I'll be.
Now that
And
makes sense.
No matter what Raytheon does, or McDonnell Douglas, or all of the others, you know, we've had a congressman that's been running around. I can say these are general things he's been saying. Timothy Burchett, I believe he's from Indiana, and he's been kind of very skeptical on these UAPs, and he's a great congressman, and he's been running around saying, hey, these UAPs, they're man-made, and he also said he believes he can see the hand in the development of these vehicles. He can clearly see the hand of Raytheon, McDonnell Douglas, which is now called something else, and all the great global aeronautics, I think that's how you say it, aeronautics companies. He can see that, and yet he knows that these UAPs are not under the control of the United States. These aerospace companies have been working with some other human man-made entities that have been working with them to create these things, and it's not under the control of the United States or Russia or China at all. And he's been stating that this is kind of the feeling that he gets from all of this, but he's continuing to investigate, and he's continuing to look into this. Especially, he's looking into the fact that there's so many congressmen and senators that suddenly want to get in on the gravy train of the UAPs. And what's the reason? Why? Why are they so interested? Well, the answer is always money and resources, because the military-industrial complex is really into these UAPs, and they are going to be funneling back resources and money to whatever politicians help them to grow this UAP program that they're working on. That's the answer. And that's where we are right now. And that's why this is really dangerous time that we're in right now.
Yeah, it's going to get complicated. And I'm going to suggest one thing for the listeners out there right now. John is a very sought-after speaker on a lot of different shows. Follow him, because he is on both sides of the fence. He may be not working for the FBI anymore, but he has friends there and he hears things. Follow him and listen to what he's talking, because you probably will hear the information before you hear it anywhere else. Because that's what I found out when I go to his meetings here in Tucson. I hear him talking about something, and then a week or two later, I see other people talking about it on shows. But I hear it from John first. So watch him. And also, of course, if you like what you're hearing right now, grab that mouse on the computer and subscribe to our channel and click the bell, because we are having some really interesting stuff happen at times, and you should know, so you could get a warning about when the next but a notification when the next shows are coming up. Yeah. Oh gosh, I've always wondered a little bit, but is in the back of your mind that you have never talked about before? Is there something that is back there that you've been holding back and maybe wanting to wait with until maybe a right time or an occasion or something that you're kind of hesitating on? John, I am all ears. Is there something that you can say that you have never said before?
Well, there are things I hold back because I just can't talk about them, because there's mainly not because of government, but because there's families involved that have had losses, and so you can't really get into the revealed realities of those situations because of the families. So there's always things that I do hold back, and that I will always hold back as far as I know because of that. But some things I have held back that I can talk about is these terms, these new terms. I want people to start using, Augie. I want people to start using these terms. I want to see them trending on Twitter. I want to see these things getting more widespread use. One of them is the word vaxicution. Vaxicution. The only method of execution that is done with the consent and approval of victims and their families. Vaxicution. It is incredible that this word even exists, but it should, because it's an accurate description of the situation. So I want people to start using that. Oh, here's another one. Also, of course, polycrisis. I want people to use polycrisis more with its correct definition, not the phony baloney one that Klaus Schwab gives us, that it's just an illustration of a situation that is coming that he has no idea about. The real definition of polycrisis is multiple attacks being done on multiple fronts against Western nations, creating numerous mass casualty events with no resistance or attempts by national local police to protect the public. These things can't work if there's any resistance, if there's any investigation. And so, speaking of that, another term I want people to start using: railroad domestic terrorist attacks, terrorism. Railroad domestic terrorism. We got to start using these terms because if you change the words you use, you change the way you think as well.
Yeah.
Yes, these railroad domestic terrorism, this is attacks on our railroad systems, which again are not investigated or even examined. And that is verified. Yeah, none of these railroad attacks, Augie, where they're having them dump this toxic material into our rivers and our air and all these things, none of them have even been investigated at all. And they're clear domestic terrorism as far as I can see, or at least deserving of a preliminary investigation to see if it's domestic terrorism, but there's been none. There's been none. And why is that? Because if we had even one investigation of these these railroad domestic terrorist attacks, then all the others would no longer continue. They would stop, and they can't have that. The cabal can't have that.
Yeah.
So that's another term I want people to use. And then, other than that, Ukrainian Nazis, Nazi government. People need to start using that term every time they talk about the Ukrainian government, because it is verifiable that these people are aficionados of the Nazis. They openly admit it every chance they get, and you don't have to do a lot of searching to find them talking about it and admitting it, that that's exactly who they are. They see themselves as the spiritual and what do you call it when people are the inheritors of the Nazi traditions. They see themselves that way, and they talk about it all the time. The news will cover it up, but you can find it pretty easily if you just do it. So anyway, these are the terms I want people to start using. I want them to use it on a regular basis, and so that we can change the conversation that goes on in America as we're being attacked on all sides in this global war that's going on.
Absolutely, and all these, the prisoners of war out there that the Russians are taken. Once you take their shirt off, you see the swastika tattooed all over their arms and their neck and everywhere. And for those of you that don't think there is any Nazis there, go and read the Nuremberg papers. You will find it says right in there And it says right in there that the undesirable of the German soldiers were not allowed to live in Germany. They shipped them off right there in Ukraine. That's where they shipped them to, and that's where they gave them land, and they're living there, and they're still there doing their thing.
Exactly.
Yep.
Absolutely. And
man.
I think that's
what about go ahead.
No, go ahead, Augie. I'm listening.
The last message to people, when things start happening, I think you're exactly right. To live in the palm of God's hand, that it reach within, connect with the universal mind, connect with God, and expect it to happen. Don't give up your power and say, please, 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 necessary, but you can expect God to be there for you. Because
exactly.
He will.
Exactly. That's it. And that's the choice that we have. And we need to make this, because we are going to be victorious in this against the cabal, but there's going to be a lot of sacrifice also. And so we need to make sure that we are with God and that God is with us as well. And because that's what it's going to take to win this war, this global war that they've had a lot of success in this, and there's still going to be a lot of sacrifice. So what we need to do is we need to always be sharing things that will help save as many as we can. That's all we can do at this point. Just try to save as many as you can.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. And, I have this favorite question of mine that I ask ever so often. I'm going to ask you the same one. You may have heard it. If you can speak to the whole world and the world is listening, what would you tell them, John?
I would tell them to prepare themselves, take care of themselves, take care of their families, do everything you can to defend your way of life, and hunker down and surround yourself with people that help you mentally and spiritually as well. And because what we're getting ready for has never happened before in the history of the world. And so we need to be together. We need to help one another and to have faith in the things that really matter as well as we move forward in this tremendous challenge that we're all facing.
Yep. We got to stick together. And for those of you out there that don't even know your neighbors, I know the United States. I've been to 21 countries, and I tell you, I know a little bit about international relations. The United States is the only country in the world where people actually are living in their homes and don't know their neighbors. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. We got to stick together. We got to create communities and communities of minds, if nothing else. And when things start happening, maybe I'll throw in another word. When and if things start happening, we need to stick together, because there's going to be some confusing situations that we need to talk to somebody that know a little bit more than others. That's why everybody needs to know a conspiracy theorist.
Yes, absolutely. And for my Tucson people, I have to say I'm going to have my Crying Onion Cafe residency will be fulfilled on Sunday, March 26th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Arizona time. And it's an intel report. It's basically an intel report with very sensitive information by invitation only. It's a private club meeting, and I can't televise it. I can't put it out publicly because it is sensitive information. And it's just to help my emissaries. These are my ambassadors to the society that will help people survive and thrive during this period that we're coming up into very soon. Cool.
Yeah, and I will definitely be there, John, and I will. Oh gosh, I'm sorry I had to do this one by myself because Nori was busy, but
Yeah, I
we
miss
miss
Nuri
you.
Love.
Yeah, we miss you. You should have been here, but you had another good thing you had to do, so we'll forgive you. Anyway, I guess we are down to the last 30 seconds here. So
All right.
thank you very much, John, for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Augie, and thanks to you and your audience here on Broadcast Team Alpha. Good stuff, great stuff, always interesting, always good, and your audience is very sophisticated. I can tell from the chat room, and they know what matters, and so we have to keep on. We have to keep on helping each other. We have to keep on being there for each other and keep sharing information. Sharing information. We're in the final moments here. And
Yes.
this is especially when we need to produce effort and just keep moving forward to help save our way of life as best we can.
Yes. It's our job to take care of us because we know government will not do it.
No, definitely not.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, John. And then thank you, everybody out there in our earshot. We'll see you next week. And until then, be good to each other.